4 contestants enter, but only 1 leaves a champion. That's right, it's time for the one and only Project Nerd Game Show. Live from the Project Nerd Studios in StreamYard, it's The Last Word.
Welcome, everybody, to this 22222 edition of The Last Word. I'm your host, Andy Adair, and I'm so glad to be here with you today talking about some awesome pop culture news. First, I want to bring in somebody that we all know and love, and we love to have on our podcast, Sarah Cosplay Mama.
What's going on, Sarah? Just living life, living that snow life right now. It's so freaking snowy over here in Colorado. It's insane.
I have my jacket on because it's like -1 degrees in our office right now. It's
ridiculous. I'm not built for this. I'm built for palm trees and beaches, and here I am in snow and bad dreams.
Well, we're glad that you're here. I get to spend time with you because of that, so thank you. Next up into the stream today, we're going to go ahead and bring Robert. He is new to our stream, new to Last Word. Welcome, Robert.
Hey, thank you, Andy. Glad to be here.
All right. Next up, we are going to bring in Dana, also new to me being here, but not new to The Last Word. Great to see you.
Happy Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday. 1 point for corny jokes out of the gate. You guys are already behind Dana to start the show. Okay. Up next and last but not least, of course, our favorite man with the beard, Shaun. How's it going, buddy?
Going very well. How are you guys? Thank you for having me again. I really appreciate it. Love doing it.
Yeah, absolutely,
let's do it.
Man. Great to see you. All right, well, let's get going with round one. Right to it. All right, and we are now in round one, and we're going to start with our first question of the day. Elden Ring releases this week, and with the launch of another From Software game, always comes a conversation about accessibility in gaming. So many games now are not currently designed with accessibility in mind, but things are definitely changing. Typically, there's two sides to this argument. One says that the game should be accessible for everyone, and others that say some accessibility features defeat the purpose of what the games are made for or what the games offer. This is the From Software debate, right? Their games are typically challenging, like Dark Souls or Bloodborne, and with no way to decrease difficulty, at least in the past, it's impossible for some people to play. So where do you stand on accessibility in gaming? What do you think is right? What do you think should happen? And where do you think we should go from here? Shaun, let's start with you.
So I'm going to say something that I saw a lot online anytime I was playing any of the From Software games. Get good. All right. Some of these games, their whole reputation is built off of being difficult. The reason Battletoads is still legendary to this day is because it was so goddamn hard. If you beat the 3rd level, you're a legend. Like, that's as far as any of us got. So I really think that, casual games are for casual gamers. And if I learned anything about playing a lot of Bloodborne, it's not necessarily so hard you can't do it, as you just have to put in the time. If you can go through and you can level up slowly and take your sweet time doing it, and you get this sense of accomplishment when you beat those hard as hell bosses that you just don't get in any other game. Like, I've never felt as good as I did beating the last boss as Bloodborne. So, I think, and for me, accessibility, it means something a little bit different. I think we need to make games accessible for people who have, handicaps and things like that. But as far as making a very difficult game easy for someone just to be able to jump in and enjoy, I don't necessarily think that's a thing. I grew up leaving my Nintendo on all night long so that I could beat Castlevania. And, they were hard games, and that's what made them cool.
Sarah, what do you think about what Shaun said there? What do you think on the subject?
I'm going to try to be not so accusatory and yelly. I have really big feelings about this. Obviously, I think that accessibility
Please be accusatory and yelly.
It's you know what? It's fucking, I'm so tired of people being like, just get good at it. Like, what, fuck you. But people are good at video games, and you know what? Then they get into a car accident, and their thinking or their motor skills are just a little bit slower. I was talking to a coworker about this, and he was like, when you see him, you wouldn't even know that he has something going on, but he has an issue where his right eye cannot go left after a certain point. And so he's been really bummed because he's been excluded from the VR video game world because that technology uses eyes to track. And now they're just starting to catch up with that. With the things like The Last of Us, where they made a blind mode. We're working on how you can switch controllers, things like that. And I think we get in our head that if you need accessibility, it's just someone with a person with disability, that's something physical that you can see. And we just associate it with these large scale things like, they're missing a limb, or or this or that. But like, there's so many micro levels, and you know what? If you want to get good at it, then you play the fucking hard version, and it's not your business if somebody else needs a modified version. Gaming is becoming a culture. It's becoming a community, and the fact that there have been people who have been excluded from this community, especially now, youth who grow up and can't participate with their peers, things like that, just because the video game can't make a minor change. And you know what? I think it's really good that we're starting to see these changes in these difficult games. I think it's good that we're giving options, and it doesn't take away from your win just because somebody who might have just a slower reflex needs a little bit more time because they have to button mash more than they can figure out controls and things like that. Like, it doesn't ruin your experience and doesn't make your gaming any less. And if you have an issue with that, then your issue is about your small penis, not the gaming issue.
Well, see, I read it wrong, 'cause I wasn't
Sean,
reading
back in
that.
here with your small penis.
So I guess I read it wrong because I read it as like a normal dude who wants to make this game easy.
Oh, sure.
That's a different-
We're not
because
talking about.
Well, the question was more
difficulty
specifically geared
level
towards
here.
that. Like, that's what I'm talking. Difficulty
Yeah.
level, like the difficulty of the game itself.
This
Handicaps.
is part of the
Why would
conversation.
I not behind like people with handicaps? I know handicapped people who have great benefits. I know Mike very well, and he's benefited greatly from the accessibility that Xbox has given him with the controllers they've made and things like that. But yeah, I guess if you're a disabled person, that's a whole different conversation from what I'm saying. I'm talking
that's
about
what that little
dudes-
accessibility icon in the bottom of all PCs and everything. It's the little handicap symbol to where you can do, hearing impaired, color blindness, adjust
Totally
the
on board.
brightness.
Andy,
all of
you
that.
phrased that question wrong.
And,
I'm
well,
upset
the
at
whole-
you about this one, Andy,
the whole
because that
point of-
question, if you put the accessibility, handicapped accessibility,
Listen,
to me,
I
that's-
asked for
and
your
Well,
I
really
grew
quick,
up in a little
really
town,
quick,
so-
just for PN, just really quick. We don't say handicap, we could say just like people with disabilities.
Yes.
And
People with disabilities, absolutely.
and the whole point of why we're talking about this new game that's coming out is because this is the first time they are offering that, and that's been their big jam, is that they're so complicated and you have to do the time. And there are going to be people, they're going to be jabronis. I'm not saying anybody in this group is a jabroni, but the reason why this conversation is a hot topic right now is because some people feel like all their hard work is being taken away, and we need to recognize that that's not the case. And accessibility, it is got a broader stream, and we can't go down the slippery slope of get better at the game or this and this, because then people might just use that excuse, but it's still naturally it segregates without realizing it. And
But
I
do you think-
accessibility in
opinion-
games does not always mean
let
that we're
Dana talk?
talking
The other
about-
woman wants to talk.
Yeah,
Da-
stop
oh, Dana-
talking
Da-
over me.
Dana's coming
I'm not
next, I
as
swear.
loud.
Accessibility in games does not always mean we're talking about easy mode either, Sean, right? It could mean that there needs to be audio cues or visual cues for people with hearing impairment or visual impairment, right? Maybe not making the game easier, but just making it, again, accessible for somebody that wants to play it in a hard level.
So I
Dana,
just-
No,
get in
that's
here, Dana.
wonderful. Like, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah, so as Sarah was talking, it was reminded me of this quote that I always think about in discussions like this, but to people of privilege, it feels like they're losing out on something when we are opening up spaces for more people, if that makes sense. Like, it feels like oppression if we're opening up spaces to more people. And so Sarah's comment about, gamers feel like they're losing things by making the game more accessible, that just brings me to the fact, like, it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with the people that are now able to play the game. And if you don't want the game to be accessible, like, fuck off. Sorry, I don't know if we can swear on this, but fuck off. Like, it's nothing to
It's
do
happened
with
twice
you.
already, so we're good.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it comes down to, do you want to sell 1,000 copies or you want to sell 100,000 copies? I mean, I come from a retail and wholesale background. And so, I mean, you don't want to water down your product, but you want to put it in front of as many people as possible. And if that means you want to make it more accessible, what was the word you used, Sarah?
Where you've talked, like, I use many
Disabled.
words.
Disabled, right?
For people with disabilities.
People with disabilities, yes.
Mhm.
And my stepdaughter, 26 years old, lives with us. She is autistic with Asperger's with mental delay. So I get it. It's like, we want to bring a wider audience to enjoy our product, and we want to get rid of the elitism amongst the people that are used to playing these games, because they're still going to buy the game. hard mode, legendary, heroic, it don't matter. They're still going to buy the game, but we want to open up to a larger audience without watering down the product, right? Is that what this game is
absolutely
trying to do?
Yep. So Shaun, let's get you in for one more take here, and then Dana will close with you on last word on this question. Shaun, go ahead.
So since this is my first time talking on this subject, I believe the game should be as accessible as possible to anyone. And truly, I really do. You know, I come from an old school background. You know, I played the hardest of the hard games, and I grew up in a tiny town where I knew one person and their only disability was they broke their leg and had crutches for a little bit. So I come from a background where I'm still learning to live with this new world we're in, and learning that instead of saying handicapped, we say, what was it?
People with disabilities.
People with disabilities. I'm old school here. So
but
that's where
you're
I
learning.
was coming from.
You're learning.
There we go. And I'm willing to learn. But I'm coming from the guy who just played really difficult games. And you know, a big part, I think, of what made the Demon Souls series and Dark Souls, or I forget their first one. But what made them so popular was their difficulty, the brutal difficulty. And I think it's cool now that they've come to a point where they can include those other modes and still be recognized and still get everyone on board. But it also is kind of I'm sure, a difficult decision for them to make, because so much of their reputation was based on that brutal difficulty. Otherwise, though, yeah, I love to see everyone play games. Like, I love that Mike can play games still. Like, I think that's great. That's a step forward that we need to make. And I think that it needs to be better for people. I think we need to add more virtual reality options for people who have disabilities. And so, yeah, I'm completely on board with everything you guys said. But just
I wanted to give you a chance to make sure to say that, because, you know, I know that you're a good person. So I want everyone to know that you're not. Yeah. So
I'm going to go play with my small penis.
Yeah. Dana, go ahead and close this out.
That's disgusting. Okay. I want to challenge this idea that's been brought up a couple of times about being difficult, because everyone's perspective of difficult is going to be different based off of our abilities. And so to truly be accessible to everyone, there has to be a wide variety of modes or levels in which you can play the game. And so, you know, obviously not obviously, you guys don't go, nobody knows. I'm not really a gamer, and I am currently playing Last of Us on easy mode because even just regular mode was way too difficult for me. But I am really loving the game, and it's super fun. And so who the fuck cares if I'm not playing in survival mode or whatever, the hardest mode? Like, this is my experience with the game, and I'm still really enjoying it. And you know, I'm an able-bodied person. So, you know, I think we really need to think about difficult means different things to different people. And, you know, gaming companies should build their reputation on being accessible, because how cool is that? How cool is your game can be played and enjoyed by everyone? And you're going to gain a lot more respect, in my opinion, with a lot more people, rather than that few hardcore gamer elite who are like, only into playing your game that hard. So that's my opinion.
We really support Microsoft around here because of that very thing right there. They do bring a lot of accessibility to gaming. And that, you know, I know that conversation ran a little long, but I think it's really good to have, and it's worth having. You know, anytime a game like, you know, a From Software game comes out, this debate comes up. And I think that every single time that it's happened now, we've been moving in more positive direction on these conversations, right? More accessible, more accessible, more accessible. I remember last time that the Bloodborne came out and this conversation came up before, it was get good, right? That was the whole idea about everybody's, you know, idea behind it. But that was still at the early stages where we didn't realize that other people played video games other than us, right? Like, we just didn't have this perspective that we do now and things. So it is good to see that we can all learn and grow and develop our you know, our tastes and make sure that everybody can experience things, you know, that they'd want to experience. And I think that's a really cool thing. So gaming community is awesome. Keep it up, guys. Thanks for that first question. Again, I know it's a tough one. After one question, Dana has 5, Robert and Sarah at 4, Shaun at 3.5. You know what I mean, Shaun? Okay. So second question for the day in the first round. Uncharted just released last weekend, and it released a $45 million domestically and over $100 million worldwide. And that's not a huge amount of money for a video game or for a film. That is a large amount for a video game movie, right? This is the second best video game movie after Sonic. And this is based off of an actual franchise for video games. So with this movie doing well, Sonic doing well, and Sonic 2 coming out soon, Free Guy, which is kind of a video game movie, doing very well recently as well. Do we turn the corner on video game movies? Are we just really, really, really high on sniffing that Tom Holland glue right now that we've got going on? Let's start with Robert.
All right. So, I mean, I think the video game movies were kind of really started, really got mainstream with Ready Player One. I think we can all agree with that one. And yes, it's going for that crowd, and I think it's great. Now, Uncharted, I have not seen it yet, so I don't know how, but in my opinion, I think right now, looking from the outside, it's all about Tom Holland. Like, oh, Tom Holland just tweeted, oh, who's his girlfriend? Look, here's a quick shot of his girl. Oh, there's Tom Holland with his shirt off. Oh, Tom Holland. Oh, I love his accent.
Those are all of my retweets, Robert.
I mean, but I do think there is a franchise for Uncharted because for those that have played the video game, the storyline doesn't continue, right? So it could be Tom Holland in Uncharted. It could be somebody else, in Uncharted 2, the movie. It doesn't have to maintain, a continuity between stories, because that's what I think kills some movies that are so engrossed either in canon, whether it's from movies, comic, manga, anime, novels, is people get so wrapped around that didn't happen in the video game, so why is it happening here? Or that didn't happen in the story. And I just wish people would just enjoy the movie, regardless of who's acting. Tom Holland, which I think Mark Wahlberg's way better actor than you. But it's just enjoy the movie as it is. Don't compare it to what its reference is.
Robert, +2 for a great argument, -1 for thinking Mark Wahlberg is a better actor than Tom Holland. Sarah, what do you think about this Uncharted movie? What do you think about Tom Holland?
It absolutely is the Tom Holland charm. Anybody who says it's not is kidding themselves. The game is not that popular. It's popular in the gaming world, but like something like Sonic had like a cartoon when we were kids, and it's been around a long time, and it's more universal. And I know a lot of people who saw Sonic just because the kids were like, that looks fun, I want to go see it. This is absolutely the Tom Holland charm. He's like America's sweetheart right now. And for the record, we don't love him because of his accent and because of his shirt off. We love him because he's this positive masculine. His relationship public with his Zendaya is so healthy,
so adorable,
so charming, and we
that is
freaking love them together. So that's fantastic. But that being said, I do think the culture is changing. I think that we are going to start getting some more popular video games. However, I just don't know if it's going to be as big of a turn as we think. I think video games kind of will be more successful on television and miniseries. I think that's when you can get that real good meaty stuff, real good meaty, Witcher pecs. So I feel like we're going to maybe video games should kind of put more of their money and time into that, because I personally think that's going to be the smart move for them. But I think also maybe casting America's Sweetheart was the right way to go, and this could start a franchise, especially because Uncharted is so it's just an adventure story. It's very adaptable, and a lot of people can enjoy it without needing to see the video game.
Dana, what do you think?
I don't know.
Good start to the argument.
Look, I'm not a gamer. I don't know much about Tom Holland. I didn't see the latest Spider-Man movie. I don't know anything about this.
I love this take.
Topic.
This is a great whatever
let me
take.
say this, because I can pull an argument out of my paper bag. I wasn't about to say asshole. Okay, anyways.
But she did. She did just say it anyway, just so we knew.
That booty!
I did. But I think my opinion on the subject is, as long as like the story is good, anything can be a good movie. Like, I really liked Jungle Cruise, which is based off of a Disney ride. Like, I mean, as long as the sea is good, I think it has the potential to be a good movie. So that,
you like Dwayne Johnson. That's what it was.
But
it was Dwayne Johnson all the way.
What was it?
It was because of Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, Dana, obviously all your tastes are based off around men, because that's how all of our brain works. So thank goodness,
yeah.
This is the wrong show for us, man.
Yeah, get the F off of here. We're going to take over. But anyways, I was about to make a point before I was rudely interrupted. Uncharted, I just looked it up on Rotten Tomatoes, and it got 40%, we all know Sonic like got really, really low, really bad reviews. So like, I don't know.
Do you happen to have the audience score with you there on Rotten Tomatoes?
90%. But I go with the critics. But Jungle Cruise, I'm sure, got really low.
I love Jungle Cruise. I loved it.
Sean, hop in here. What do you think about Tom Holland?
Yeah, I think so. The other thing we're forgetting right now is there like nothing else came out. This is like the only movie right now, and people are also just stoked to get back in theaters because it's still fairly like new again, right? We're just starting to get back into theaters for like more big budget movies. Everybody loves Tom Holland, of course. I think the Sony people like Uncharted a lot more than probably any of us know because it got 3 or 4 games, and they were always a big deal when they came out. They did huge promotions for them. I love Mark Wahlberg, period. So I'll watch anything with him in it. And I agree, Zendaya and him are just, oh God, I'll watch their TikToks all day. It's like the cutest shit in the world.
Magical.
So it's kind of just a combination of everything, And like 43 million isn't a particularly like huge, amazing thing. And the other thing we're forgetting, I don't think we've turned a corner. This is the same year we got the shittiest Mortal Kombat movie yet. Like that movie was terrible. I hated the Mortal Kombat remake. So I think we have the potential to be like making better movies now, but we still can crap them down the toilet. But also, I'm going to go back and use his advice, and I'm going to rewatch Street Fighter with no preconceived notions, and I'm going to love it.
Okay. Well, I was really hoping somebody would come out on a limb and say that we have turned a corner because I totally think we have turned a freaking corner here with video game media, right? Like to Sarah's point, we've got Witcher. We're gonna have the Halo series coming up soon.
That's all TV. That's all TV.
It is. I totally agree. But I think that this is opening that door for those movies as we kind of get back in the theaters. I definitely think that we have turned a corner. And Sean, the new Mortal Kombat movie was not good, but it was good.
I loved what he did with YouTube stuff. Right? Did you see those minis that they did on YouTube for a little bit?
Yes. Yeah.
They were so good. I loved what they did with those.
I just want to go out on a limb and say maybe TV is the better medium for this.
Yeah, I think maybe that's why the YouTube was better.
And TV could be the right medium.
Dana does have a point because who would sit down and watch the 4-hour remake of DC, the first one?
Justice League. I did.
Justice League.
Don't even do it.
No, in the theaters.
Till 5 in the morning, baby.
Prior to
wrong tree to bark up, Robert.
No, what I'm saying is. It is the world of streaming as we know it, right? Without COVID, I don't think streaming would be where it's at today, where somebody can tell an entire story in 8 episodes rather than having to cram it into like a 2-hour movie, which was like the paradigm, pre-COVID.
Well, to your point there, Robert, that Justice League movie was broken up into 6 parts, right? So they kind of did even frame it as a miniseries, even if it wasn't, actually a miniseries. Sarah, last word on video game movies. Tom Holland, anything you want to say about this before we end the round?
Oh, I've said my first point before was I think it belongs on television. I think it's just going to be meatier and better. And I think video games, what makes them so good is the investment. You were living a story, and you can't really to get that. We should go to TV, and it's not like now we live in a world where HBO and Amazon we're producing movie quality level anyway. So why not just go with that? Because Tom Holland worked for Uncharted, but then Chris Pratt didn't work for Mario, so it's like kind of a crapshoot.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Pratt's also kind of a wacko. As somebody who's seen Uncharted, it is somewhere in between that 40 and 90%. It is definitely an enjoyable adventure movie, but it's also not great either. So you're not missing anything if you don't rush to see it. But damn, it is nice, like Sean said, to get back into the movies. So, all right. After one round, our scores are Sean has 6, Dana has 7, Sarah has 7, Robert has 5. Robert, you actually had 7, and then you started talking shit about Justice League. And unfortunately for you, that's what dropped
I should have mentioned
you
that to you. I'm sorry.
That's what dropped you out of contention. Robert, go ahead and wave goodbye. Say goodbye. Now hang out if you can, because we'll bring you back on.
We'll definitely hang out.
Thank you for being here. All right. And we're going to go ahead. Let's move in now to round 2. Okay, round 2. And now the first question we're going to go with is going to be pretty straightforward, pretty simple. I want to talk to you guys about who the best Batman on film so far is. We've got Robert Pattinson coming out next week. Our next episode won't be for 2 weeks. So we're sandwiched between the release date of the new Batman. Where do you see Pattinson falling on the scale? Who's the best Bruce Wayne? I want to hear all of it. Sarah, let's start with you.
Oh, so many. This one took me. I have so many thoughts on this one. Okay, so I actually had to go with who the best Bruce Wayne and who the best Batman was because I couldn't. So right off the bat, I think the only person I think there's only ever been one good Bruce Wayne. Yeah, it's the problem. They always cast a really good, they always cast a Batman, not a Bruce Wayne. And I think the best Bruce Wayne was George Clooney. Maybe because he is Bruce Wayne in real life, but he was a terrible Batman, but he had that brooding, that charm, that public look. It was great. I'm going to go.
Nobody else would believe that he's Batman either.
Yeah, he was good at it,
it's
right?
Really good.
I think for me, I debated with Batman for a while, but I'm going to stick with my instincts. I think Kevin Conroy is the best Batman we have ever had. And if you do not know who he is, if you're watching, he is the voice from the animated series from the 90s. I think the animated series from the 90s is the best Batman we have ever had, and I will die on that hill because once we got the TV show, right, so we were able to go ahead and to get some length and some meatiness, but we just saw him do stuff that we never see. Like in Ghost of the Phantasm, he's crying on his knees at the grave of his parents, talking to the ghosts of his dead parents, begging them to release me from this vow I've made, this internal struggle. We see scenes of him dealing with losing Robin when he ran away. We see he gets so complicated, and it's just the ability to go through these gray and deep structures and to be able to have children to experience these complex emotions is something that is just so well done. Also, the whimsy of Batman is the villains and how fucking ridiculous they are, and I think that's a really hard thing to balance as an actor playing this serious Batman character. We were also dressed up as a fucking bat, so I think having Kevin Conroy's Batman, the balance of all of that was so well. The writing, and maybe it was because of the writing, and I know he was just a voice actor, but when you could hear in his voice, he is Batman. He is acting Batman. And so for me, that's amazing. That being said, Robert Pattinson's going to be a different Batman, just like how Christian Bale's was a different Batman. These might be standalones. They're not going to be part of the Justice League world here. So for me, I'm trying to be patient because we always tend to cast these wild cards as Batman and they either hit it out of the park or they're Val Kilmer. So I think what we have to kind of do is just wait and see. But I'm going to go ahead and say, if I'm looking at all the Batmans here, like a scale of 1 to 10, I feel like Robert Pattinson's probably going to be a 6 or a 5. He's not going to be the worst, but I don't know if he's going to be as good as Christian Bale was but it depends on the reality they built him. And I'm reserving judgment.
Matt Reeves actually wrote this movie with him in mind as Batman. Mm-hmm. So this was his pick as he's writing the movie. So I don't know if that's going to, push that performance to a new level, or if, again, like you're saying, we've got another Val Kilmer in our hands. Dana, what do you think about the best Batman / Bruce Wayne argument?
Well, like Sarah, I too have a favorite animated Batman and a favorite real life Batman. My favorite animated is Will Arnett in the Lego movie. He's so fun and silly.
I was expecting.
I love it. It's and again, haven't seen it. I guess I have seen several of the Batman movies. I wasn't a fan of the show when it was on, but I think then when looking at truly my favorite of the Batman movies, it's the Dark Knight. So I think Christian Bale is my favorite. I love the realism, the dark realism of that film. And I think Christian Bale is just a really great actor in whatever role he takes on. He really can transform himself into the characters, and you forget that he's Christian Bale. And so for that reason, I think he was my favorite Batman. And I don't think Robert Pattinson is all that great of an actor. So just judging him on his acting talents. So I don't know how well he'll do. If you're saying the movie was written for him, again, maybe he'll be a 5 or a 6. But he's a good looking guy, but I don't see really anything special in his acting, but prove me wrong, I guess.
I absolutely love the Nolan Batman movies, but I would be the first to admit that Christian Bale is a real rough Batman in terms of his voice. But those movies are just so damn good. Shaun, what do you think about best Batman? Who do you got?
Well, I read this simply, was thinking movies, and I'm stoked that the ladies thought so outside the box on this with the animated stuff, because now it made me think my probably all-time favorite Batman of anything ever is Brave and the Bold's Dietrich Bader. I think that's his name. But the Brave and the Bold cartoon version of Batman is just fantastic. He plays it so straight. It's so goofy and so funny. So everything about that. And I watched like every episode religiously with my kids as they were growing up. So I have such fond memories of that. And if I'm not mistaken, Kevin Conroy showed up in like one of the DC series. So technically he's like also an on-screen version of Batman. So that makes it even more of a legit argument. His voice was amazing. I agree. Like he is the voice of Batman. So movies though, this is how I initially read this. I love Michael Keaton's version of Bruce Wayne when he breaks that thing and he's like, "You want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts."
Yeah, he was
It's
great.
like the most out of nowhere weird part. That just that scene right there. I adore that scene. I love how he plays him. He's like this, like right on the verge of like freaking out Bruce Wayne. And then my favorite version of Batman, I love how huge Affleck looked in that suit. He was like physically menacing in that suit. And I think that's something all the past Batmans kind of like lacked. Like they were, George Clooney made a great Bruce Wayne, but like you guys were saying, his Batman he had nipples and he was like not very big. The suit was weird. So I think that he by far made like the most believable Batman who would show up in a dark alley and just kick your ass and then disappear. That's
good.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I do think that Keaton best overall, right? Batman and I think he's got the best overall package, and I think why they're so excited to bring him back for the new Flash movie. Go ahead, Shaun.
So with Pattinson, I'm gonna have the same. So I had to think about how I felt when they announced Heath Ledger as Joker. I was like, what a joke! He's gonna suck. No one's gonna be able to take him seriously. I'm going to hold my reservation, and I think he's probably going to blow us all away.
People
because
felt
every
the same
movie,
way about Michael Keaton, too.
Totally.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's going to be one of those things where I think we all go into this, like, what's going to be a 3 hour and 20-minute movie, apparently. I hope they give us potty breaks because I'm getting older. But it's going to be awesome, man. I'm really stoked to see what he does because every movie he's been in since Harry Potter. Geez, where am I at? Since Twilight. Oh, he was in Harry Potter too.
He was.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Degree, yeah.
So he's been separating himself further and further and further from those roles. He did like The Lighthouse, which was like the craziest shit ever. And now he's going to be our next Batman. And when I read how stoked he was to be the Batman, like that's what I like. I like when an actor goes into it like, I fucking love Batman. I want to be Batman. Like I came into this, my manager mentioned it and I was all about it. Like I love those types of stories, man. So yeah, give me some Pattinson, give me some Riddler. I'm ready to see a dark Riddler who murders, and let's do it.
We'll definitely revisit this in 2 weeks when we come back. It is rated PG-13 as well, too. Go ahead, Sarah.
And I say, I know you didn't ask, but I also have the best Bane, and that is going to be from the Harley Quinn series on HBO.
Oh, he's so funny. I love it.
Coffee is not
as long as the answer is not Tom Hardy, I'm in on that.
That's so very rude of you to say.
Okay, so after that first question in round 2, Dana and Sarah both have 9. Shaun, you have 8. Shaun, you got a little catch up to do in our last question, so good luck to you. Disney is launching neighborhoods. What does that even mean? So Story Living by Disney is coming, and it's promised to be communities as enriching enclaves conceived with the simple notion of bringing people together, managed by Disney cast members who deliver world-class service and, of course, fun. Are we in on living inside a Disney park around the country, or is this just a terrible idea? Sarah, I want to hear what you have to say first because I know you've spent your fair share of time with Disney. What do you think?
Man, rich people love being fucking rich. I'll tell you what, because that's exactly what this is. I was like, oh my God, what's another way we could just throw our money away and show the world how rich we are? And I for about 9 years, I did work for a company where my boss was a mouse, so I have some strong opinions. But I'm going to say that I hate this, but it's going to be successful. It's going to be. People freaking take down pixie dust to the throat like a big old fat you-know-what. People love it, and they're gonna drop so much money on these homes, and it's just going to be super rich people. Or what's going to happen is we're going to have a bunch of independent investment people. They're going to buy homes, and they're going to turn into a freaking Airbnb and charge up the wazoo. This is just like another form of capitalism in the man to take advantage of low real estate out in the high desert. And you know what? I'm going to go, and I'm going to give them my money, because this is what has happened. Because if you don't go, then you're going to be like, damn it, I want to see this exclusive pool and this exclusive this. And there's even going to be like a senior home, people 50 plus. Nobody on Social Security is going to be able to afford that place. It's just like for rich people. And it's going to work. It'll work in California. I don't know if it's going to work in other places. It has to definitely have the culture that's got to be there. But they're just turning it. I mean, like when they built Aulani, I remember thinking it wasn't going to work because it was just like a hotel in Hawaii. I was like, why would you spend all this money when you could just go to a cheaper hotel and get the same Hawaii experience? Now my dumbass is over here being like, how can I save up for Aulani? Because I got to see where Lilo and Stitch live. It's just what happens. And so my point is that it's going to be successful. Somehow we are all living in a simulation and we're just okay with it. And we're going to give them our money. And we're all going to know those cast members are making like minimum wage, and we're just going to be okay with it. Rich people love being rich, and poor people like to pretend that we're rich. And
Sarah is on fire right now. I can't wait to pretend to be rich with you down the line and we go visit one of these living communities. Shaun, what do you think about the Disney owning, most expensive HOA ever? That's correct, Robert.
First off, you think their HOA is going to let Airbnbs occur? Yeah, right. That's Disney. They're going to have like such a lockdown on that. I'm sure like it'll be owners who have to sign up to never step foot off the property for 8 years, or else like, the eye in the sky will sick Tom Cruise on them or whatever it is that Disney does. But same thing with me, man. Like I was really excited about the Star Cruise hotels that they were doing until the pricing came out. And then it's like, who can afford like $6,000 for 2 nights? Like, I know I want to be Obi-Wan for a night. It'd be fun. But do I want to pay $6,000 to be Obi-Wan for a night? I don't even know if Obi-Wan could afford that. He was a humble Jedi. So I think all these. Oh, I hope so, man. Well, we will see. But all of it is just geared towards such rich people, which is just the way Disney's going these days. I was fortunate enough to be able to go to both parks over the this last year, and they're incredible, man. The amount of money that just runs through those places is mind blowing. It's
Rise of the Resistance
how much everything costs.
Rise of Resistance is the best ride I've ever been on, for sure.
I cried at the end of that, man. I was like, this is like everything I've ever wanted in my life. And it's beyond incredible. You can see where the money goes. But as far as this Disney living, it's a trip, man. Can you imagine, like, you go in and like maybe the whole thing you sign up for is to like try and escape this thing. Like, that's my version. I'm like, okay. So I'm like in a show, and you guys are going to like try and stop me from escaping this, like a Disney thing. And they'll be like, yeah, man, stormtroopers will come after you. Like, I'm on board. Give it to me. But I'm just not enough of a Disney guy to care about like the type of living I'm sure it is, where like Goofy serves you like pancakes or something, and then you got to go and have like a meeting
pancakes
with Mayor Mickey. Mickey's going to make all the HOA decisions.
Dana, what do you think? Were you going to live in the Disney story living, or is this not for you?
Oh, absolutely. I will live there. As you guys are talking, it's really interesting. My in-laws are Disney Vacation Club members, and I'll say a couple of things on this. First of all, they have been to Aulani. They've been to a ton of other really cool resorts and places all over the world, essentially. And I really think, like, outside of the parks, outside of the Mickey shit, like, Disney excels in hospitality and they excel in the experience. And so actually, even before this article came out, I was thinking like, oh, it would be really interesting if Disney had like a retirement community or something like that, because they just excel at that. That is their brand. Anytime I've ever gone to Walt Disney World, I'm like, wined and dined, and it's just so good that in a way that a lot of other companies don't get hospitality. And so, I think it's a great idea. I'm really curious to know what the prices are. I've definitely, as soon as I saw the article, like I sent it to my in-laws and I said, I found where your next move is going to be. And like, they definitely will. I mean, I don't know if they will actually do it, but it's probably something that's top of their radar now in terms of where they're going to retire. And the other thing I'll say is like, I don't know if it's going to be truly for rich people, because I think it's going to get that market level where they think they're rich, but they're not actually rich. Like, I think people who can actually afford nice things probably already have the nice home. They might have multiple homes. Like, I don't know if they're going to buy into this storybook living, but it's going to hit this sweet spot with a little bit of disposable income. Maybe they'll retire there. Like, that's what I think the community is going to be, is like older adults who are super into Disney and know like the good experience that comes with it.
Well, when your in-laws retire there, we are all coming to visit. I'll tell you what, we got to see what this place is all about.
They got to get a 6-bedroom. We'll
Mickey Mouse swimming pool with the ears or hot tubs, right? And then the big ones like the regular pool. I'm
all in. So after our round is over, we have Dana with 12, Sarah with 13, Shaun with 11. So Shaun, unfortunately, you did not dig yourself out of the hole. Wave goodbye, good sir. Thank you for being here today. We will see you again soon, I'm sure. It's great having you on the show. All right, let's get him on out of here. All right, so we're going to go into our final round now, where we kind of go over one last question to see who our champion is. Now, we always save the most hard-hitting questions for last, of course. Now, if you haven't seen the pictures yet of Daniel Radcliffe as Weird Al, you are definitely missing out. They are incredible and everything I did not even know that I needed. I'm so here for it. What actor in real life combo would you like to see in a biopic or mini series? And I really want to get blown away by this one. So Dana, what do you think? You go first.
Oh, I'm going to blow you away. I know it. So I've just finished today watching Inventing Anna, the story of Anna Delvey, or Anna Sorokin, who's a con artist. She is brilliantly played by Julia Garner. And if you look online and see the pictures comparing the two, it's just like incredible. So I'm really like wanting to see another con artist, their story. And thinking back to a recent con, the college admission story would be great on screen. And who better to play Lori Loughlin than Lori Loughlin? She needs a job now, probably. She's got to pay those legal fees. So that's
my God. The Lori Loughlin story. She would definitely be jumping to film that, even though it'd be totally weird and uncomfortable, I'm sure. Sarah, good luck to you beating that casting choice.
I was thinking about it, and I have this thing where I love actors that are known for one style, but they're good actors. And it's like that first time where we see somebody like a comedian in a serious role and things like that. So I wanted to really think like Daniel Radcliffe Harry Potter is now Weird Al. So like that was a big thing, and he's worked really hard to separate himself from Harry Potter, and he's been doing a lot of work. But if you don't follow him, for a lot of people, he's still Harry Potter. So this was a big, like a odd decision for the studio. So for me, I think Dan Levy is extremely talented, and I feel like he's someone where we have this very typecast picture of what he is, but I bet you if we gave him something real meaty, he would really kick ass with it. So I think, and I even have a photo, I think I would love to see a biopic film of young Alfred Hitchcock with Dan Levy. And that's, I can't kind of see the glare, of course, because there's a terrible glare on it, but that's what he looked like, young Alfred Hitchcock. And that's a terrible shot, but just pretend
we can maybe roll some more in here. We'll see what we can do on the back.
Yeah. But I just love Alfred Hitchcock because it was really complicated. He wasn't the best guy. He did a lot of he's just something, he's another icon that we have where just like any film producer in that era, things were a little sketchy back then, but they still talk like this. And I just think that it'd be really cool to have Dan Levy just pull off this weird cork. And with his weird ew quirkiness that he has, there's some sadism behind there, and he can get real dark, and we could get fucking in that, and then it'd be fun to see kind of the filming of all of these movies. And I think it'd just be something that we kind of are missing. I feel like the last Alfred Hitchcock film I saw was a made to TV film, and I think that that's a story that could be told. A lot of those original sets still exist, and I really love the idea of taking really good actors that we forget are really good because we only see them as one character, and remind ourselves that he's not David from Schitt's Creek. He's this talented actor. Also, we can see a lot of the dun, 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 silhouette Dan Levy.
Look, so there was a 2012 Hitchcock movie that came out with Anthony Hopkins as Hitchcock.
Yeah,
I don't care about that. I want this story. Whatever
I want
you're
the
telling
young
me.
version. I want the young, sexy version. Maybe there was maybe there was some scantily clad issues in there, some affairs. I don't want the portly Hitchcock. I want the young hot bang.
Now, unfortunately, I think based off of my scoring here, it looks like Dana is going to be the winner today. Now, here's why Dana got the win. Because I pay for college right now still, and it annoys me. And so anytime I see somebody taking it to the man, I don't care who it is, I want to see more of that. So Dana, congratulations on your win. You are a champion. I'm going to give you a little intro here, and then you have 30 seconds to talk about whatever you want to.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I'd like to thank the Academy at Project Nerd, my managers, my agents, and most of all, my co-hosts at my show, Murder, She Joked, which we just launched our 4th season. Oh my gosh. Or is it 3rd? I can't remember. We launched a season of Murder, She Joked last week, and we have 2 episodes in our new season out on Project Nerd. We did a fun collaboration with Two Guys, One Film as well. Our first episode is a crossover show. It's a great show if you love improv, if you love true crime, and if you love to laugh. So catch us on Murder, She Joked. And thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Dana. I'm going to bring everybody back in. Everyone can wave goodbye. Robert, Shaun, thank you for being here. Sarah, always a pleasure. Dana, congratulations on your win. And we'd like to see you guys all again soon. This has been Last Word. I'm your host, Andrew. Have a great night. See you guys.